Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another video. I'd like to start this video off by letting you guys know that 95% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed, so I really appreciate if you guys went down there, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, maybe drop the comment. Really appreciate it. Anyways, what we're talking about today is nostalgia. So, I was recently watching Ocean's 11, 12, and 13 because they're all on Netflix right now. They're about to leave on the 30th, so I really recommend you guys go watch those movies. They're literally classics. So while I was watching those movies, it kind of reminded me of how even though I am pretty young and there's a pretty big leap between my generation and the newest, technically like I am Gen Z, right? Like um my brother being Gen Alpha, right, which is a new 2010 to like 2020, right? Where those kids are like iPad kids and the newest generation Gen Beta or whatever it would be called is 2020 to like, 2030, right? And those still haven't been like worked out yet. But my generation being, tech savvy and stuff, I kind of fall into like a weird niche where I am technically a 90s baby and Gen Z at the same time. I am Gen Z. I am Gen Z, but I consider kind of, kind of like a 90s baby, right? Because I was born in Cuba, right? And it was a third world country, we barely had the technology, I guess. We had TVs, we had CRT TVs. We had the little bubble TVs that you look close enough, you could see the literal what's it called? Like the literal pixel where it was like red, green, and blue. And I would always look up to those, and I feel like that's probably the reason why I went like pretty blind as a kid. So I recently had to get surgery about that. But uh that type of age, we didn't really have much. So I kind of grew up with not that much stuff, not that privileged. Um but I definitely had a regular uprising so far, right? And I left pretty early, so I kind of got caught up in the digital native era, right? Where I literally just learned technology, and it was cake for me. It was like almost secondhand nature, because I know a lot of people who were born before the 2000s kind of have a little bit of a struggle with technology. Not to say that there aren't people who know and understand it, right? There's a lot of people who do, but it just takes a little more getting used to because of, I guess, generations, right? And so since I was kind of born there and I left early, right? A little story I had from back then was we got this DVD player from our family in the United States, right? And my dad would have like this CD and DVD folder thing where he kept a bunch of CDs and DVDs, right? And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the big so a lot of people had the kind of circular thing they sell at like Walgreens or CVS, the CD stack, right? Well, my dad had the folder, right? And he had a bunch of movies in there because he was like one of those avid movie watchers that just enjoyed watching classic action movies or like, any of the hits from like the 2000s to like the 2010s that were coming out. Ocean's, 11 being one of them. I think it was made before I even was born. It was a year before, right? And I know he watched a lot, right? And it was one of those cool. He was one of those cool dads that just kind of wanted me to watch movies with him. So he was pretty cool about that. And I would always say no. I would always be like, no, those movies are boring. I don't like those movies. I want to watch cartoons, pussy. Like, put the cartoons on the TV. And my favorite thing back then was probably like Ed and Eddie, which yeah, it is a '90s thing. But again, I am kind of back there as well. So uh, you know, with that all being said, I still love my dad for trying to like get me to like what he likes. And eventually, I've kind of been seeing that I have slowly been turning into what he was like, right? And kind of growing into the same person he was, which not to say it's a bad thing, but it's kind of like a awakening almost, like Jesus Christ, like I am I'm turning as my dad. I am like literally I am turning into a dad, right? And I'm only 19 years old, right? So I'm growing the same customs that he probably had in his early uprising, right? And it's almost like, man, you really got to think about it, like holy crap, like I've lived for almost 20 years now and I'm going to turn 20 pretty soon. And you always think, man, I'm not gonna turn out like my parents. I am turning out like my parents 100%, right? I'm like literally a perfect combination of both my parents, and it's almost like it's awakening almost. Like, man, you never really think about it until you actually notice it and take a step back, and you're, man, who am I today? Who am I the person that I was, 10 years ago or 5 years ago? And you really analyze how much you change and everything. So yeah, anyways, I recently started watching those movies, right? And he would always ask me to watch them, and now I'm starting to watch them, like The Wolf of Wall Street, Ocean's 11, that type of stuff. And I've just been feeling so nostalgic about it. It really reminded me of my childhood, and I don't want to be those people who are like, I was born in the wrong generation, because I don't really care. You can definitely be who you are or who you want to be nowadays, because there's always a niche group of people for everybody. They really just have to search for those types of people. There's obviously communities based around literally anything nowadays. So I'm one of those kind of people that I was kind of been stuck in like retro stuff like consoles and CRT TVs, which I am looking into getting a CRT TV. Because that's kind of what I grew up with. That's kind of what I idolized in my childhood, and like that's an example of where there's literally tons of people who love retro 80s aesthetic stuff. All you have to do is find a Discord or a Reddit and literally connect with people, and not to like rant or anything, but I know it's kind of hard for people to connect nowadays, especially for like people like me. Kind of have like a close knit type of friend group that you just been, you're really close with. So there's almost no reason for you to go outside of your kind of boundary area with your friends, right? And really talk to other people. All you have to do is literally use an icebreaker, or just hop in a VC and be like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? What are you guys doing?" Type of stuff. And usually I've been finding that works out pretty well. You have to really put in the effort to not be socially awkward. And I know a lot of people are like really socially awkward nowadays because, hey, technology. We don't even have to go outside. We don't even have to go to McDonald's anymore to order food. Just Uber Eats it and it'll come to you. And it takes away from that feeling, man, I need to socialize with people. And a lot of people are growing up that way, and a lot of kids are growing up that way nowadays. So I feel like it's gonna start being a problem later on, when people start to realize, Jesus Christ, we really do need social interaction to not make a bunch of jackasses, right? And it's just how people grow up, right? It's ward of the state type stuff. You need to like, the government kind of knows what's best, I would say. But they it's all about your experiences with people and stuff like that. And that's one of the easiest ways to grow, is to talk to people, listen to their experiences, and a lot of people are missing out on that stuff. So I find it so, like in high school, I found it so invigorating to talk to a bunch of people, even though they weren't too much older or whatever. They all had their unique different life experiences, and it really helped to listen to them and analyze how they thought, how they grew up, because everybody comes from different walks of life. you know uh if you think about your childhood and stuff, what do you really think of? I grew up with my mom. I grew up in a one bedroom apartment. That kind of sucks. And then you realize, man, this person is really unfortunate, but they've grown out to be a really strong independent person. They know how to take care of themselves, type stuff. Or here's this guy who has always lived with his parents until his like early 30s or whatever. Doesn't know how to get his affairs in order and stuff like that. So it just kind of brings me back to you know your experiences with people, and how a lot of people look back to them and they're like, man, I really wish I could go back to it. And it's a feeling that's normal, but sometimes you just have to snap out of it and be like, hey, I'm taking a hold of the reins from here on out. I'm taking it from now here until later, and then eventually I will look back and be like, this is the person that got their shit straight, right? And another thing that going back all the way to nostalgia again, something that was definitely out there for me is Modern Warfare 2. I've been playing it so much that it really reminds me of my time in middle school, 7th grade, spring break. I got on Black Ops 3 because there was a double XP for spring break. So I was really worry free, and it's something that really brings me back to my time, my childhood. And it makes me realize, man, I was so worry free back then. All I had to do was my homework, play games, and go to sleep, and do it all over again every single day. And now it's a lot more different. You have a lot more responsibilities, and that's something that goes a lot deeper into gamer culture, and how gamers age, right? But that's pretty much everything I really have to say. You just have to really keep moving forward, and you know take the reins from here until then. And even if you want to be nostalgic and think of how old you are and whatever, it's normal. You just have to really keep moving forward, and take it from here. So that's all I pretty much have for you. thank you guys so much for watching. I have videos every day at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.